A major move is incoming. According to an NBA insider, there is strong internal support for the Knicks to re-sign a former Knick from last season to fill in that final roster spot. Also, we have reports indicating that the Knicks want to sign another free agent. But in order for them to do that, they're going to have to trade a current player on the roster. We're going to break down all of these latest reports today. If you're enjoying the content, please hit that subscribe button and have notifications turned on so you don't miss any new content. And now, let's get started. Knicks free agency update. A trade is incoming. The Knicks have had a final roster spot to fill for the last few weeks. Unfortunately, they have been waiting for Ben Simmons to make his decision in free agency, but he has yet to say anything. Now, it looks like the Knicks are done waiting. According to reports, there is strong internal support for the Knicks to sign Landry Shamet. Let's break down these following reports. Shout out to NBA Insider with SNY Ian Begely for giving us the following information about the Knicks and what they plan to do with their final roster spot via his show, The Putback. According to Begely, I'm talking about Landry Shamet because I think there is still mutual interest there. Shamet and the Knicks. I do think that, if I'm guessing, that it ends up with Shamet getting one of those roster spots. And that's why I keep mentioning his name, just because I think it'll end up that way. Unless there's a significant change in thinking, I do think it'll end up that way. I think there's a lot of internal support for bringing Shamet back. I think that there's a lot of respect for what he did last year with the shoulder injury, getting back on the floor, impacting things in the postseason when he came back into the rotation after not being in it for so long. There's a comfort with Shamet, respect for Shamet in that locker room. I think that Ben Simmons was supposed to make his decision in free agency about 2 weeks ago, but we haven't heard anything from Ben Simmons as of yet. Nothing from his camp. We have no idea where he wants to go in free agency and where he wants to play next season. And the Knicks, they're fed up with it. They have waited for so long, and now it's clear. They do not want to wait any longer. Even when they were interested in Ben Simmons and they were looking at Ben Simmons, there was one other name always mentioned with Ben Simmons, and that was Landry Shamet. So it's not a shock to me at all that right now there is strong internal support for the Knicks to re-sign Landry Shamet and get him back on this team. His shooting, the chemistry he already has with this Knicks team, and him coming off the bench, actually being utilized the right way, I see very good things for Shamet if he rejoins this Knicks team for next season. And clearly, according to Ian Begely, the interest is still there, not only from Landry Shamet's side, but also from the Knicks. I only think it's a matter of time before New York re-signs Landry Shamet, especially if they don't hear anything from Ben Simmons, or better than that, Ben Simmons signs with a different team and the Knicks are able to close this chapter on Ben Simmons. But let's continue here because Ian Begely, he wasn't done. After he reported this, he continued, and in the process, he dropped a bombshell. Shout out to Ian Begely for continuing to give us this following information here. Here's where things go from good to absolutely insane. According to Begely, just in having some casual conversations, I would not rule out the idea that the Knicks wanted to bring in another veteran in addition to Landry Shamet. In addition to Shamet. That does not mean Shamet and or a different player. That means they want to add Landry Shamet and another free agent. But in order for them to do that, they're going to have to clear some money. How do you clear some money if you're the Knicks right now? Well, there's one way to do it. That's by making a trade. And on cue, Ian Begely says the following: the only way for the Knicks to add another free agent in addition to Landry Shamet is to make a trade. For them, you can't do it any other way. You have to open up a spot if you want to bring in another player on a vet minimum. We reported about Ben Simmons. There is still interest there. Well, you heard it. The Knicks are still very much interested in adding Ben Simmons to this team. So clearly, they like Landry Shamet. They want to add him to this roster. But they also want to be a little bit greedy and add Ben Simmons to this roster as well. But as I said, as Begely said, the only way to do that is to trade a current player on this roster off of this team to clear enough cap space to do that. But in order to bring Simmons or anybody else in, if you do that for Shamet, you would have to make a trade. You would have to trade somebody who has a guaranteed standard NBA deal to open something up. So that's just something that I'm vaguely keeping an eye on here as we get closer to camp. So Ian Begely, an NBA insider, a Knicks insider, is keeping an eye on this situation, potentially for the Knicks to make a trade, for the Knicks to be in a position financially to then add another player. You essentially have to dump somebody or take back less salary. Taking back less salary via a trade. Shout out to Ian Begely for breaking down this information for us and providing this huge update to us. The Knicks could potentially make a trade for another free agent after they add one more free agent to the roster. Now, in my opinion, that is a mistake. I would not make another trade just so I can clear enough roster space to add another veteran free agent to this team. I understand the goal is to win a championship. But even though that's the goal, why force a move when you don't need to force a move? You add another player to this team. After you add, let's say, Landry Shamet, who is that player? The 10th player on this team? How many minutes is the 10th player really going to play on this roster? What is he going to do for this team? What impact is he going to have for this roster? Because in my head, I can't see it. Even more, when you think about players New York can actually trade in order to get this done, you can also see why I'm trying to shut it down. Think about it for a second. Honestly, what players come to mind that the Knicks could realistically trade right now? In my head, it's really only one player. What player is still extension eligible and has yet to be extended and really is on an expiring contract right now? It's Mitchell Robinson. Everything has been very quiet with regards to Mitchell Robinson and that contract extension. Now, I'm not saying that the Knicks want to trade Mitchell Robinson. I'm not saying that's the move on the table. What I am saying is, if New York needs to make a trade to free up more roster spots in order to free up more cap space, one way to do that is to make a trade and deal Mitchell Robinson. And if you get a player back for him via trade, if that player makes less, then you have freed up enough cap space in order to add another veteran player to this team. But as I said, doing that just to add another veteran player to this roster, potentially doing all of this just to add Ben Simmons, no. No, 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 no. No, thank you. It is not needed. We do not need to make a trade like that at this point in time. At this time, right now as we speak, the Knicks have one of the best rosters in the entire league. And that's before we add anybody else with our final roster spot. Once we make that move, and we add another veteran to this team, the Knicks are only going to be a better team. If you don't believe me, maybe you'll believe the odd makers. Shout out to channel sponsor FanDuel for breaking down these following odds for us. Let's take a look at exactly what odds the Knicks have for winning the Eastern Conference next season. According to FanDuel, here are the odds for who's going to win the Eastern Conference next season. According to them, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers at plus 240, and they top the list. Then right after them, a very close second is the New York Knicks at plus 270. After them is plus 500 with the Orlando Magic. Then you have the Atlanta Hawks at plus 950, the Philadelphia 76ers at plus 1200, and then at the end of this list, you have the Detroit Pistons at plus 1300. Really, this is a three-team race for who's going to win the East. The Cleveland Cavaliers, the New York Knicks, and the Orlando Magic. Remember, Vegas has the Knicks at these odds, and they have one roster move still left to make. So these odds, they could change for the better in favor of the Knicks. But I've said it a number of times. Do not make trades. Do not make moves. Do not force moves if you don't have to make them. New York does not have to make a trade at this point in time. The best move, and in my opinion, the only move for them to make, is to sign another veteran free agent to add to this team and continue to build with this roster, build chemistry, and unlock the full potential that this roster has to offer. We didn't see it under Tom Thibodeau, but I promise you, we will see it under head coach Mike Brown. But what about you guys? What do you think about the Knicks planning to re-sign Landry Shamet to that final roster spot? And what about New York potentially making a trade to free up enough cap space to add another veteran player in free agency to this roster? Let me know how you feel about that in the comment section below, guys, because honestly, I would love to hear from you. But that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, go ahead and smash that like button, leave a comment below. And of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans, take care of yourself, your families, and each other. Peace and love.